where the Bangladesh crisis is concerned. And we are monitoring the developments and also the updates very closely. Now, after the unexpected turn of events in Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina's 15-year rule comes to an unceremonious end. Amidst the ongoing uprising protest in the country forced her to resign and flee the country. Now, all eyes are on the interim government formation. There are few faces who are in the race and who are also expected to take over the government of Bangladesh. Remember, viewers, these past 24 hours of change have scripted a new chapter of history in the Bangladesh. Now, Dr. Salimullah Khan, an eminent writer and a Marxist scholar, is expected to take over the government as per the sources. Along with this, Dr. Asif Nazrul, a law professor, and Devapriya Bhattacharya, an economist and a former ambassador and permanent representative of Bangladesh to the WTO and UN office in Geneva. Also, Queen Yan, advisor to the Chakma Circle chiefs, are in the race to form the interim government in Bangladesh. Meanwhile, the coordinators of the recent student protest in Bangladesh have proposed the formation of a new interim government with Nobel Peace Laureate Muhammad Yunus as their chief advisor. President Mohammad Shahabuddin has also ordered the release of former Prime Minister Khalida Zia, who is under the house arrest after being convicted in several cases. Now, that was the latest that we're tracking at this moment as far as the developments and updates in Bangladesh is concerned. Now, let me welcome my panelist on the show, KP Fabian, who is a former ambassador and also an expert in the domain. We welcome you on the broadcast, sir. KP Fabian is the former ambassador of India to Qatar, and I appreciate you joining at this moment. Sir, the uprising in Bangladesh continues to give more worrying news for India, and we see as the updates, the formation of the new interim government is the hot topic when we discuss about the deliberations that are going inside the country, which is standing right now in shambles. When we talk about the security and the political governance, what are your current thoughts on how situation is unfolding in Bangladesh at the given moment?
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you, and through you to hundreds of thousands of your viewers. Now, first of all, we have to understand what has happened. As a former foreign secretary in Bangladesh, Chowdhury put it, megalomania of Sheikh Hasina caused her fall, and that megalomania undermined democracy. Now, apart from that, the undermining of democracy, corruption, rampant, well, not corruption which can be attributed to her personally, but to her entourage.
Okay.
There is one guy called Jahangir. He was a peon in her office, and he has amassed 400, mark my words, 400 crores of taka. And when she was asked what she was going to do about it, she said she would take action. But by the time the guy was in the United States. So, corruption, then youth unemployment. On top of that came her reserving government jobs, 30% for the children of those who fought in 1971. And on top of that came the belief, right or wrong, among the public that false certificates were being issued by some people to make you eligible for getting that concession. And those who issued the false certificates, of course, made money. So this is what has happened. Now, coming to what might happen, it's a developing, unfolding drama. One has to be very careful, but it is our hope, especially those of us who are in India and who have dealt with Bangladesh. I was Deputy Secretary of Bangladesh after 1971. You see? And it is our hope and prayer that Bangladesh will move towards democracy. And the best way is for an interim government, what one may call a technocratic government, and that government should, as soon as possible, not tomorrow, conduct elections which are fair and free. That was not the case in January this year when Sheikh Hasina got her fourth term or fifth term, so to say. So that is what is most important. Now, coming to relations with India, whether it is correct or not, there is an impression that the Indian government had put all its eggs into a single basket. Now, that is rather not very diplomatic, but whether that impression is correct or not, India has to be very, what shall I say, watchful, and don't give the impression of interfering in the internal developments in Bangladesh. And India should be able to work with anyone who comes into power in Bangladesh. India should not give the impression it has any preference for a person
Sir,
or another.
I would just like to bring a small point here, which you were mentioning, that when we talk about the ties of India with Bangladesh at this given point of time, it's very critical, and all the more reasons very significant as well to watch, wait and watch very carefully what's unfolding in the interim government itself. But what I want to essentially learn from you is that, in your opinion, she was just elected 8 months ago. What has really led to Hasina's downfall? And she fell and Dhaka rose, and these are all the protesters and these scary images that we see coming in the past 24 hours. Of course, the protests have been going on for a long time, but what we have seen in the last 24 hours is something that was next to impossible to have been happened in the history of Bangladesh, where we have the statue of the father of Bangladesh being broken, vandalized. And these are all very scary images for the message to be going out for the stability and the sustenance of a government in the neighboring nation.
Yes, I agree with you that certain events have happened which should be a matter of concern for all of us, not only in India, even for people in Bangladesh. I mean, imagine vandalizing the image statue of the father of the nation. But what we have to understand is that when people are in rage, they do things which they should not be doing. But we should not perhaps, I say perhaps, read too much into it. And it is possible, in my view, for Bangladesh to settle down and open a new democratic chapter. Now, coming to India, we know that more than 7% of the population are Hindus, and attacks against Hindu temples, which have unfortunately taken place, attack against the Indira Gandhi Cultural Center, which has again taken place. Now, these are very unfortunate, but we should respond in a responsible manner. And I saw some statement by somebody in West Bengal, not from the government, saying that 1 crore are going to come to India as refugees. Such statements are unfortunate and irresponsible. We should show calmness, maturity, and determination in handling this crisis.
What essentially do you also think about the influx of refugee here in India? Because as all eyes are there on how the situation goes further, as far as the political leadership is concerned in Bangladesh, not so many confirmed. Of course, there are faith in the formation of the new government, which is going to have take some time to prove the stability as well, if it at all sustains. What about the possible ramifications when the influx of refugee is concerned back home?
Well, let me put it this way. If those who are fleeing for their life, and if they come to India, we should accommodate them. But we should not make statements which encourage more people to come to India, and we should do whatever we can in a confidential, diplomatic way, not by public statements, to help stabilize the situation in Bangladesh.
All right. What also I need to understand is that, do you really understand, Mr. Fabian, then in the situation that's prevailing right now, do you understand this to be a well coordinated step with external links? There has been possible ties for this to be a well coordinated step in to create instability and to create this kind of anarchy here in Bangladesh. Do you think this is one such step which has been in the works for a long time?
I beg to differ. I don't think that is the case. You know, in a revolution, it cannot be pre engineered.
Okay.
Of course, there may be external forces acting, but one should not overestimate the importance of the external forces, whether from the United States. And you know something, when she went to China, well, things didn't go the way she wanted, and she cut short her visit. Now, my question is open speculation. Is it the case that China was in contact with the ground realities and had anticipated her downfall? You know, so let us not give too much importance to external forces. Of course, ISI must have been active.
Okay.
Jamaat is active, but then Jamaat is an internal force. It's not an external force.
Also, one more point which we need to understand at this given point of time, that as of now, Sheikh Hasina continues to be in India. India has given and indeed received her after she wanted to flee the country after violent protests erupted, and now we had our top officials deliberating about what should be the next step forward in maintaining her security as well. Is this how India should be behaving at this given point of time? We have US right now speaking on this matter, saying that whoever gets to make the government in Bangladesh should be in a democratic principle manner. But when we have, as a neighboring nation, we have acted swiftly. And when we have done that, what message essentially this is going to lead into? And also, in your opinion, is this the way India should be going forward with this kind of crisis which has been unfolding for a long time? Or of course, it was unexpected and unprecedented, but is this the right way India should take this forward?
Thank you. In my view, India did the right thing in giving her immediate asylum. If she had not been able to leave Bangladesh, of course, we are told that the army gave her 45 minutes to decide. If she had not come to India, she might have gone elsewhere. She might have gone, for example, to China. But India did the right thing in giving her temporary asylum. Now, the second question is, should we give her longer, permanent asylum? My answer is very clear. We should not, because that will upset our relations with the new government in Bangladesh. And the best thing is that she goes to London and writes her memoir.
In your opinion, that's the right thing for the former Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, to go to London? All right, we appreciate you giving your time and your detailed perspective as of now, what remains to be the next immediate prospect for the Bangladesh crisis. Mr. Fabian, thank you for joining us on the broadcast. Now let's, viewers, move on to what is expected to take in the government in Bangladesh now, viewers. Let me give you a sense of the situation that's there unfolding on the ground and what essentially needs to be in place in Bangladesh at the government that's happening, that's going to form. Now, who's expected to take the charge and take over? We have few names which are in the top race, starting with Salimullah Khan, who is a well-known intellectual and also a huge following, has garnered a huge following in Bangladesh. When we talk about the interim formation of this government in Bangladesh, Salimullah Khan is indeed the one that's in the forefront of the top race. He has used the Marxist and the Lacanian theories to investigate the national policies as well, and has translated several authors or works in Bengali. So there you have a major chunk of the Bengals actually garnering their support. Then we have Dr. Asif Nazrullah, who is a renowned novelist and a writer, and of course a political analyst. He indeed also gets to be in the top race as far as the formation of the interim government in Bangladesh is concerned. He has already worked for the Bangladesh government as an administrative officer. These are the top two people who get to be in the race. And then we have the Asif Nazrullah, who has also worked in the University of Dhaka as a senior professor in law and well known for his audacious criticism of Bangladeshi politics. Has worked in the Bangladesh government and has been a critique in the Bangladeshi government politics as well. Then we have the third one. He is Debapriya Bhattacharya, the third top race forefront nominee to be in the formation of the government in Bangladesh. He has been a renowned economist and a public policy analyst. Viewers, he has also been the first executive director of the Center for Policy Dialogue in Dhaka. There you have a big name for the formation and a big brain for the formation of interim government in Bangladesh. Now we have Chakma Rani Yan, who is a human rights defender and also the advisor for the Chakma Circle chief. Now she is a tribal leader from the Marma tribe in Bangladesh and also is one of the 4 names that are there in the top race for forming the interim government in Bangladesh. Chakma Rani Yan is also one of the names that are going and doing rounds in the interim formation of the government in Bangladesh. Viewers, now these are the top 4 names that are taking, of course, the center stage when there is deliberation on who's going to form the government in the Bangladesh and what lies for Bangladesh next. Now viewers, let's come back to all the guests who are joining us at this given point of time. I appreciate you all joining, sir. Mr. P.K. Sehgal, who has joined us on this issue. We welcome you on the show, sir. Firstly, I would like to understand from you about the situation that's there. The government has called the all-party meeting. The deliberations are going on. What's next for Bangladesh is also the hot topic that everybody eyes right now. But your thoughts firstly on the deliberations that are taking place within the country, Mr. Sehgal. I believe I'm audible. If you can hear me, Mr. Sehgal.
Yeah, I can now hear you. I can hear you loud and clear.
While we restore our connection, I'll try to ask you the question once again for the benefit of the viewers. Mr. Sehgal, so what I essentially meant is that the all-party meeting has been called by the government to, of course, take the deliberations going further. And as we have been hearing by all the experts on the matter and the panelists, that this indeed is a wake-up call for India. What India does next is something that's going to also pave the way forward for the India-Bangladesh ties, and how the future in Bangladesh continues to look grim. What India decides and reciprocates with is an essential step. What's happening back at home with the politically and strategically? Mr. Sehgal, what are your first thoughts on the developments that are taking place recently?
It's the worst case scenario as far as India is concerned. It's a huge security dilemma. It's a victory for anti-Indian elements both within Bangladesh, in Pakistan, in China and elsewhere in the world. India would have to now take care of its northeastern borders in a very major way. Also ensure the security of the Indian diaspora in Bangladesh, which are coming under attack. We've got to make sure that we reach out to the military government or whoever is the interim government and ensure the safety and security of the Indian borders, ensure that there is no major influx into India, and also ensure that our diaspora is secure and is taken care of. There's a desecration taking place of Indian temples. The property of the Indians is being vandalized. Indians are currently being targeted. It's very unfortunate. We've got to make sure that this does not happen. It's very important that India continues to extend all sort of assistance to Bangladesh, whatever it is sought. The condition in Bangladesh today is no different from what happened to Sri Lanka some years back. Sri Lanka was given all the assistance and support that it needed, much more than what the Chinese or the others could do. India has contiguous borders with Bangladesh as against Pakistan and China, or even for that matter, the Western world. We've got to make sure that we no longer misunderstood. Unfortunately, India put all its eggs in one basket, and whatever has happened in Bangladesh, like what is Biden is doing, Biden has been giving absolutely blind support to Israel. Similarly, India has been giving absolute and total support to Sheikh Hasina. We completely ignored that she was absolutely destroying democracy in that country. Even her election in January this year, where she got about 70% votes, was badly rigged. The entire opposition was either decimated or thrown out of the country, or they were put behind bars. Under the circumstances, democracy was only notional. India today is in a huge dilemma. There is absolute and total instability in South Asia. In addition, if you notice at what is happening in Pakistan, Myanmar, Bangladesh, now military governments or semi-military governments, as far as China is concerned, an authoritarian regime. This instability in our neighborhood is bound to affect India sooner than later. And it is something that is extremely very worrisome. As far as Northeast is concerned, if you notice, insurgency had almost come to an end in each of these states in the Northeast, primarily because Sheikh Hasina did not permit a safe sanctuary to the insurgents in Bangladesh. This could once again re-emerge. A safe sanctuary to insurgents from the Northeast Bangladesh in Myanmar would be extremely, extremely difficult for India to handle. India's forces will be stretched in a very major way. We've got the LAC to take care of. We've got the IB to take care of. We've got the LOC to take care of. We've got the Nepal border, which is not so friendly. And we've got the huge Bangladesh border, 4,096 kilometers, which till yesterday was an absolutely safe and secure border vis-a-vis the others. Now this border too also becomes a source of worry for India. If you notice, we've already put the armed forces as well as the BSF, etc., and the other security forces on a full alert. The DGBSF are already there. Certain elements of the ground forces have been put on a full alert, and we are worried. There could be influx of drugs. There could be influx of fake currency.
Of course.
There could be influx of weapons and ammunition from that border, because it's a huge border, and patrolling that border requires a certain amount of forces. Unfortunately, during the COVID, the strength of the Indian Army was brought down by 200,000. Now that at this point of time, it appears that it was not a decision which was taken with an eye for the future. Now, in the absence of our deficiency of 200,000 troops, with a huge amount of requirement, if you notice, even in the Jammu region, we had removed our forces 70 to 80% and pushed them into Ladakh.
All right.
That area has become worrisome. It's a huge responsibility against China, against Pakistan, now Bangladesh, against Nepal. And in internal security, we are in a very, very serious problem. We need to reach out very strongly to the interim government, extend a full hand of support to them. I am totally in agreement with Mr. Fabian that giving a temporary asylum to Sheikh Hasina was in our interest, and we did the right thing. But giving her a permanent asylum would be misunderstood by people in Bangladesh, and they will construe it as an interference in the internal affairs of Bangladesh, which would be not to India's advantage.
Okay, all right, Mr. Sehgal. I appreciate you giving us all these details right now. Let's also get a word from Major General retired and also Brigadier, I beg your pardon, Brigadier Sharnendu, who is a foreign affairs expert right now. We appreciate you joining on the broadcast, sir. What essentially Mr. Sehgal is saying that India did the right thing with the first step concerned. Giving asylum at the earliest, acting swiftly, and extending help were the three top tier efforts that India made sure were delivered correctly. What I also I want to understand from you, Mr. Sharnendu, is that how we see the further going strategy. Should, as Mr. Sehgal has also pointed out, should India be continuing to give this kind of support that it has extended, or do you differ?
Look, I see it slightly differently. As far as India is concerned, India has got its own standing in the world. India is a strong country. India respects the neighborhood. India does not interfere in anybody's internal affair. But right now, we are cautious. We have alerted our security forces. BSF is on guard, and we are monitoring entire situation in Bangladesh with very, very careful eyes. We want, first of all, that internal disturbances which are taking place in Bangladesh should cease immediately. The interim government should form, and what sort of an interim government comes up, that is to be seen. Once interim government comes up, combining of professional, bureaucrats, defense personnel, intellectual, environmentalists, economists, all sorts of it. They should represent the entire spectrum of the society of Bangladesh. And thereafter, there should be somebody whom we should speak to. India's interest in Bangladesh is huge. There is a mutual interest. We both depend upon each other. Our trade, commerce, people to people contact, even our diaspora is very huge in Bangladesh. If Bangladesh, you see the demography, 80% Muslim, but 20% are minorities. Most of them are Hindus. So our interest, more or so, we share very huge border with Bangladesh, 4,096.7 kilometers of border. So we cannot let it go like this. As far as asylum is concerned, India has done a very right thing by granting her asylum. It could be permanent, it could be short-lived. As it is, Sheikh Hasina, she said she does not require any help for Bangladesh, and she is on her way to UK. That is her stand, because she has got her daughter, she has got her sister there. Probably she is seeking asylum there. If India grants asylum to Sheikh Hasina permanently here, there is no harm in that. Bangladesh cannot remain stable without Awami League. Awami League has got very deep-rooted thing. As far as Awami League and India is concerned, India is having very good relation with Awami League, but not with Awami League. It is with the Bangladesh, whether BNP comes, Jatiya Party comes, or any radical or military rule comes. Earlier also this kind of thing has happened and our relations were okay. So we first of all do not interfere. We want some stable government should be there, and later on when this interim government gets converted into democratic government, things will be perfectly all right. As far as military regime is concerned, right now you must know the present chief of army staff of Bangladesh. He's not anti-India. He's not anti-Indian subcontinent. Right now, what is happening, if you see the internal situation, this move has taken place very swift. Within 24 hours, things have changed. When people stormed the prime minister residence, there was no security force. There was no body to protect prime minister residence. So it had an internal shimmering was there, and it started with the election in the month of January. And this kind of shimmering, Sheikh Hasina should have understood. Do not neglect. All over world, there are thousands of examples that have taken place where agitation is taking place for the right cause, then it is drifting away, taken over by somebody else, and this kind of thing happened where she has to leave the country in a very unceremonious way. So this entire thing, I see it in a very different manner. Bangladesh is right now in the grip of radicals. Right now, all the right wingers, even ISI is very active. China interest you cannot neglect. Pakistan interest you cannot neglect. Change of government has taken place in Nepal. What has happened in Sri Lanka? That you see, Maldives. So all over the world, there are different kind of turmoil is taking place. And wherever this government is weak, this kind of change of system is taking place. And see the Bay of Bengal and the Indo-Pacific region. China interest is very, very huge. Pakistan interest want to radicalize Bangladesh. They want to create another block of resistance for India. So entire dynamic is very, very different. And the interim government, when it is formed, the chief has said of their country that they will not be taking any Awami League leader.
Okay.
That is the wrong decision because a particular segment is left out. Therefore, whatever you may say, India is a strong country. India can handle this. India will be very well protected, and we know our interests. Our external affairs ministry, our all party conferences taking place today in the parliament. All this kind of internal action we are taking. We are keeping our guards, but side by side we cannot overlook this. So therefore, we are taking all measures. And as long as asylum thing is concerned, there is no harm. Even if she wants to continue, earlier also she was in India for some time, for 6 years, nothing has happened. India maintains a very, very different line.
All
As
right.
far
Joining me on the broadcast right now, viewers, is General Retired VP Malik, who is the former Army Chief. Well, we appreciate you joining on the broadcast, sir. Thank you for giving us the time. What's unfolding in Bangladesh subsequently also has grave consequences for India, where the all-party meeting by the government is being held and also deliberating upon the India's further stand. What essentially has unfolded by the anti-quota protest in Bangladesh has resulted into bringing the government to its knees and ending the 15-year-old tenure of Sheikh Hasina, and now the scary visuals that we see also coming from Bangladesh, where protesters have stormed the streets. Now, Mr. Malik, what I essentially want to first understand from you is the formation of this government there and now the military being imposed. Now, as the rule as well, the chief advisor, who was after taking the discussion on with the student leader organization, made the announcements yesterday, bringing some sort of relief and bringing all the speculations to end. Do you think how the interim government that's now slowly taking in charge and the steps that's coming forward from Bangladesh are anyway in right direction after this entire crisis has unfolded? Mr. Malik.
See, firstly, look, I'm General Malik, and it would be better if you can continue to call me with my rank also, because my rank speaks of my experience and as well as the service that I belong to. Yes, I watched the events yesterday. It's a big setback, not only for Bangladesh, but it has serious implications for India, short term as well as long term. At the moment, what we can say is that the army chief in Bangladesh, who took over only recently, I think on the 23rd of June, and he is a distant relation of Sheikh Hasina, and his father-in-law used to be the Bangladesh army chief during my time, 97 to 2000 or so. He has given a very neutral statement and correct statement, I would say. I think the events that took place has forced the armed forces to take over the situation. And he has said, firstly, all three services are together, as we could see from the interview. The other thing is that he has appealed for calm. And again he has appealed for calm. And he even said at one stage that, look, I have asked my forces not to shoot anybody, not to fire at anybody. And then he mentioned about the interim government, which will be formed after consulting all parties and then going to the president with that. So we have yet to see how that government is. I think his immediate task would be to control the law and order situation, which is still not under control. And in that, he has a major task of protecting the Hindu population, which, as my previous, the predecessor speaker said to you, that it's almost about 15 to 20%. So he has to control that. There will be a problem of refugees coming across the border on our side, which is over 4,000 kilometers, and not only one state, but it is extending from Mizoram to Meghalaya to Tripura to Bengal and Assam, all these places. So we have to see how he reacts, how he controls the situation, and how he forms they enable the interim government to. I have a feeling that the armed forces, particularly the army chief, will continue to play a major role till the next elections are held. He will continue to play a major role in whichever interim government is formed till the next elections are held. He is not unfriendly. He is, Bangladesh army has been trying to keep a balanced picture, balanced relationship between China and us. That has been going on for a number of years. But this territory has been utilized by ISI and others, even after 71 war, to wage insurgency operations on our side of the border. And that carried on for quite some time till Sheikh Hasina herself, she came into power. Things are much better recently, but one has to watch and see how the situation develops. But I think the armed forces in India also have to play a major role along with the Ministry of External Affairs to study what is happening. All our good relations with them, wherever they are possible, they must be exploited to study the situation, how it develops in the next few days, and thereafter only we can form any a good policy towards Bangladesh. So for some time it is wait and watch and try and keep abreast of the situation which is having, maintain our relations with both the civil as well as the military in Bangladesh, and then take a final decision as to which way we want to go. Because we have to be careful. If BNP comes and Jamaat-e-Islami is supporting them, there is a Pakistani hand. So we have to keep all those things in mind.
Okay. Mr. Malik, also we want to understand that this is indeed when you are saying that there are concerns when we talk about the influx of refugees and how the monitoring of situation in Bangladesh is concerned. But the taking over of Mohammad Yunus as the chief of army, as the next person who is addressing the student leaders and people there in Bangladesh, what message Bangladesh army chief taking over is going to give right now? Do you think this was the course correction that could have been done at the very immediate moment, which was not big, coming under the control, which was needed, or it is only going to flare up even further?
You know, Mohammad Yunus is a professional. In fact, I was watching his interview just yesterday or day before yesterday. He is a professional, and he said himself that he doesn't belong to any party. He has his views on India, which may not be all that good, but I don't think there is any enmity in that either. So I think it is better that the interim government will come under will have an advisor who is a neutral person and not belonging to any party, rather than having somebody either from BNP or any other political party. Obviously, they could not have anybody from the Awami League. So under the circumstances, I think a person like Mohammad Yunus is perhaps a correct step.
Also, what do you think of, Mr. General VP Malik, what do you think of right now the government having a strategy after this point of time when the all-party meeting is being concerned? What are your first thoughts on how India should be behaving at this point of time? Should there be an extension of the asylum that's been provided as swiftly as it could be from India, or there should have been the immediate response should have been in some other way which could have benefited India with the ties going further with Bangladesh?
Look, you know, she came out of Bangladesh along with her sister in a Bangladesh Air Force plane. And Bangladesh Air Force plane, as it entered India, it was escorted by our own Air Force, Indian Air Force. And they brought them to Hindon Airport, which is an Air Force base. So we still have contact with the military on the other side, and we should maintain those contacts. Now, as far as asylum is concerned, it may be a little dangerous for us to give her asylum immediately. Perhaps if she can spend a few days outside, that may be the correct situation, because at this stage we do not want to convey to Bangladeshis that we are on her side or on the other side. After all, we'll have to deal with whichever government is formed, both interim as well as permanent. So I think the step being taken at the moment of not granting asylum, but protecting her as much as possible, I think was the correct step which has been taken diplomatically.
So a diplomatic strategy going forward for India is what your essential and reaction on it.
I'm also suggesting that all agencies, including the armed forces, we have good contacts on the other side. So, you know, all of them should work together to be able to get to see how the situation develops in the next few days.
Okay.
And how the interim government is formed and what kind of a stance is taken by the interim government. And that probably will give us indications of what should be our policy.
So no proactive measures and wait and watch situation that's unfolding presently in the neighboring nation.
That's right.
Okay. With that, I thank you, Mr. General VP Malik, for giving us all your detailed perspective and your thoughts on what's happening and unfolding in Bangladesh presently, and also in response to how India should be acting immediately.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.